Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to MotorMouth Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Summer Heat Late Model 204 League Series. This is race number 5 of the season, coming to you tonight from Richmond. My name is Ron Mullins, and alongside me, working the comms and the cams, is Hamish Monroe. Well, Hamish, we head off to a rather intriguing track in the world of stock car racing, shall we say. Richmond is kind of like Marmite in a sense. You either love this track or you absolutely hate it. And for these drivers here this evening, they're either going to enjoy this race or they're going to be very happy to see this track in their rearview mirror.
Yeah, it's quite divisive, isn't it, Ron? For Richmond, and this is the first time that I get to call a race here. A lot of the races this season are brand new to me to be able to actually call a race here. But it's at least one positive to this track is it's dressed to impress. You arrive here and it looks very impressive with how it's been dressed by iRacing and how it's dressed in real life. It's a bit of a step away from our regular, more local short tracks that we've been racing around for the majority of the first part of this season, where now we come into what is really well known as a full-fledged sort of NASCAR circuit, in the world of stock car racing. The Xfinities that run here, the trucks run here, the next-gen cars run here as well. So it's good to be at obviously a more famous short track oval, and one of the longer short tracks we race at this season as well. But I think we could be in for a good night of racing. I think it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers play it out. And I mentioned, we have the more stadium feel tonight as well, being here at a more built-up circuit. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited for it. And I'm excited to see what sort of strategies are going to be at play for these drivers tonight. Obviously, 100 laps this circuit. Normally takes us around about an hour to get through the race, so we'll see how this hour plays out for these drivers here this evening.
Yeah, and this race does have a bit more importance to it, considering the fact that on September the 23rd here on MotorMouth Broadcasting, we'll be back here at Richmond for the season finale. So these racers may have to worry about this track another time to try and do as well as they can in this season. A small little stretch of NASCAR tracks to be found in the National Series calendars. Next time out, we're going to be running at North Wilkesboro IRP the week following, and then we head off to some more short tracks before we end off the season at Iowa and Richmond for the final 2 weeks of the championship. Myrtle Beach, New Smyrna, and Irwindale in the midst of all of that as well. But a pretty good season, pretty good race we had last time out at Nashville as well. One of those tracks that we talked about being a rather old school one for sure, but here at Richmond, it is anything but. These racers will be on the ragged edge of control around this track. One of the bigger ones that we'll be visiting all throughout this season as well. Feels like a super speedway compared to some of the other plucky short tracks we've been at thus far here this season.
Yeah, I feel like if you brought yourselves maybe some Hot Wheels or Matchbox cars to these short tracks, this track would feel like Talladega compared to the National Fairgrounds. Some of the tracks we've had prior to now. But we've got about 9 cars on track tonight at the moment. How likely do you think we are to see a caution tonight? I mean, it's only 9 cars, but it is a much faster paced oval than we've had previously. It's a bit wider, so we may see some too wide action, and the drivers are going to take more of a speedway mentality to tonight's race than they would for a regular short track.
I feel like the chances of us having a yellow are somewhat high, considering the fact that it is a somewhat smaller field that we've got here for this race. I still think this track can bite, and it can bite hard, especially when we have to worry about some pit stops later on in this race as well, trying to get it wound up. The pit entry here at Richmond is one of the more terrifying ones, I feel like, is part of the NASCAR Cup Series calendar. And you can see the same case heading off through 1 and 2. That apron is narrow. It is a small little alleyway between that inside safer barrier and the banking, where if you're a little bit up there and there's a car coming by at speed, you will get a hit up the back like no tomorrow. So I feel like just because of the prospect of the pit stops coming up in this race here this evening, there may be a high chance of us having some yellows. In terms of multi-car accidents, though, if they're going to come, they're either going to have to come on the start or the restarts in this race if we do have some yellows. But now switching over to qualifying, seeing these drivers hit the road. Hamish, as we are rather early on in this qualifying session, I want to talk about the Dash for Cash heading points in this race.
Yep, so the predetermined dash for cash position that we figured out prior to the race tonight is P5. So the driver who starts at a P5, contrary to last week, just has to remain in the position that he starts and he should win the dash for cash. Well, last week it paid out for the P6 starter on the grid. That paid out for them. They finished in the top 5. I'm unsure why I'm getting bad blinking tonight. Try and sort that out.
UFOs.
Yeah, apparently. I
Martians are
might
coming.
just have to close my browser just to try and sort that out for us. But yeah, I mean that whoever starts at a P5, they just have to remain in the position that they're in, and they'll win the dash for cash. So it's pretty much defend position, hold position, and you'll walk away with the now $15 out of tonight's race as the pot has restarted after cashing out last week. First few lap times are coming in. Ryan Camber, Mark Keeler have set the pace early. Mid 22 for Ryan, low 22 or high 22 for Mark. Donaldson and De La Garza are now lined up in between them as Keeler's lap times have come to an end. Of course, lone qualifying, so the drivers don't have to worry about dealing with other cars on track, being impeded in qualifying or anything like that, so they can just fully maximise and focus on their laps here in quali. It'll be interesting though how this plays out and who actually ends up in that P5 position for the dash for cash and how they end up across the race as well here, Ron. So it's going to be intriguing across the road, I think, tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we could be in for something special, but it's how hungry these drivers are to battle for position. But as we know, as we saw last week, they're not going to battle tooth and nail early on. They're going to wait to the very end. And one strategy I'm wondering about is, what is the strategy going to be of when they take their one tyre change? So they've got one set available to them that they can change onto. They have 2 across the whole race, 2 sets. Obviously start on one, they can then change to another. Do we think they're maybe going to spread that one set across 2 stops and maybe just take right-hand side tyres, or it might be more beneficial to take all 4 maybe halfway through the race?
Oh, that's a very good question that you raised there, Hamish. I gotta say, this surface that we are running at here at Richmond, I wouldn't call it buttery smooth, but it's not completely choppy either. I think these drivers may try and prioritize handling in this race coming up here, so we may end up seeing these racers decide to go for the more tires when it comes to these stops. But very good reason why I am behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel. These racers certainly going to play it by the seat of their pants and try and figure out exactly what will be the winning strategy here tonight. That's a 118 of Oliver jumping up to the provisional pole, 22.429. Pretty good lap time as it stands right now. Currently 9 drivers to set a lap time right now. Rather close all throughout this field. Some very close quarter stuff in certain groups. Now it looks like around about everybody has gotten some lap times on the board. This solo session for these racers can go by in the blink of an eye, and just waiting for a few more cars to potentially send some times before we can switch our attention into this 100 lap long race, which is definitely going to be a strategy competition. These racers will certainly have to have those pit stops in the back of their mind from the drop of the green all the way through to the fall of the checkered. But also have a good run in this race. Round number 5, we're a decent part into this season, so it's now or never, really. I think as much as it's good to get off to a great start in a series like this, it's also good to have a mid portion of the race that is noteworthy as well. If you're running poor in the midsection of this season, that can really mess with your brain. So I think these racers looking to have a good one here tonight.
Yeah, I think they will be. I think what else they're going to have to be careful of across the race as well, again, is maximising on that strategy, strategizing correctly and strategizing their way, to a fair and proper position, throughout this race tonight. So it'll be interesting in how it all pans out and how it all works out for them as well. At the moment, all the qualifying times have come in. So what that says to me is everyone's done their lap times. That means that Marcus De La Garza will be in the dash for cash position of P5 with a 22.64 there in qualifying. So we'll see how he turns out across the race. Ryan Camber, ironically, the admin of the series, Ron, spoke to us pre-race, said he'd be starting last. He's actually starting P6. He was nearly in the dash for cash position once again, which he's previously been in this season.
A P6 backwards is a P9, so I guess technically that counts. I'm not really too sure. But we're about to get this race up and rolling. The other drivers lining up on pit lane, about to get this race started. It's going to be Oliver up at the front. Hamby slotted in P2. Potts, Gary making up row number 2. It's going to be Garza starting in that dash for cash spot. P5 in the number 99 car, so look out for him throughout this race. Ryan Kamba going to be starting this race in P number 6. And then looking through, we got Rob Dodson starting this race in P7. Keeler starting in P8 with Dakota Dennis rounding out your 9 car starting grid for this race. The entire field only separated by about a half a second. And I think part of the reason why that could be the case is these racers have certainly been getting their practice. And I feel like this is one of those tracks where, doubly so considering we're seeing it 2 times throughout the season, we may see these drivers put in a bit more practice time than other rounds. Could be the reason why the field is as close as it was during qualifying.
Yeah, and I think, you know, this race start, Ron, may not be as important as other tracks. You know, obviously with the shorter tracks, if you can get an overtake done early, that's going to help you a lot. But I think the slipstream and the tow tonight is going to be a major factor for these cars running around. Obviously, again, it's a more speedway style circuit comparatively to the short tracks we've been running on. So I think holding that slipstream and holding in that tow, saving a bit of fuel, that's going to help you immensely compared to trying to go for a move early and running in clean air at the front of the circuit. I think the big driver that's not here tonight, Riley Duncan, is not on track. Obviously, he's been ultra dominant thus far this season, as well as the fact that Scotty Oliver is the only top tier car in the field as well. So it'll be interesting how this race plays out, how these drivers handle it. Lee Hamby, who won the Dash for Cash last week, is starting up on the front row of the grid. There you see Marcus De La Garza as well in the Ride Weights car in P5. That is our Dash for Cash position here this evening. We'll see how well the 99 does to try and hold position inside the top 5 and take home that $15. That'll buy him a free track on iRacing if he can hold out.
And I wonder what track he would buy. Maybe one of the tracks we have coming up over the next few weeks. That'd be pretty good. Just cover your bases for the weeks that lie ahead. But I'm sure these racers are going to be looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one here at Richmond for race number 5 of the Summer Heat Late Model Series. And it's going to be some familiar names all throughout this field looking to get off to the best start they can. That pace car coming down pit lane. The field now in the hands of our front row sitters as the green flag is out. And we are racing here at Richmond. Pretty good start there. Hamby and Oliver going to be side by side as they head their way down into turn number 1. Who's going to win out in the battle? Less late breakers down into turn number 1. Give it to Oliver in the number 18 as he's got to lead them coming out of 1 and 2.
You can just see how hungry some of these cars are behind the leader, just to try and hold position as best they can. I mean, already 2 wide action happening with Hamby and Potts, De La Garza and Gary as well in the battle for P2 and then P4 respectively. De La Garza, I mean, he's hungry to hold position inside this top 5 tonight. He looks to battle away already here with Gary for P4. He might even try and go for a podium tonight as well, if he can get enough position and if he can get the pace high enough as well. The laps, though, are going to fly by. I think we can both agree. And seeing as none of the other top tier contenders in this series are not in the race tonight, in Riley Duncan and I think it's Tyler Smith is the other driver, I don't think anyone can actually match Scotty Oliver tonight. I think it's going to be his to win. He's got multitudes amount of pace, and I think it's his race to lose tonight here at Richmond.
Yes, we'll have to see if Oliver can hold on to that spot. Meanwhile, right behind him, we've got Swaparoo potentially going to set up involving Dylan Potts and Lee Hamby as they head their way down the backstretch into turn number 3 and 4. Look at the 2 car there of Potts trying to hold it on the inside line. The 47 drifting up and going up in the wall, sideways, slideways out of the turn, and that's going to give the opportunity down the inside now. It's going to go Marcus De La Garza. Let's see what happens to him. Garza looking to try and make something happening there. Side by side still down the backstretch into 3 and 4, and Bookin, he's going to go through into 3rd. And now let's look, he may feel some more pressure. Lee Hamby now starting to feel the burn from the 111 car of Stephen Gary.
Yeah, Gary wants to get all up in this battle if he can. He'll try and just apply some pressure like like an alleyway massage. Just try and push it through, get the knots out of this battle and try and sneak his way on by. But the drivers have to be careful as they battle away here, Ron. I mean, we both know they don't want to get out of their rhythm. Once you're out of your rhythm and you're offline slightly and the car gets a bit loose and you're trying to defend position whilst you've just been attacking, it often then gets you unsettled, and then that's where we can either see contact made between two cars on track, or it's when we can see a driver make a mistake and end up in the wall. So if you're De La Garza, you've just been attacking with Hamby and all of a sudden you now have to defend from Gary, you've got to try and reset the mind incredibly quickly and reset your rhythm very quickly again as Gary goes up the inside of him. He tucks in between Gary and Donaldson, does De La Garza, runs it slightly wide though into the wall at 2. This is the struggle now there, holding on to the rhythm. Look, the rhythm's been broken here, Ron. He's already lost out to Gary. He's now losing out to Donaldson. He needs to reset, and he needs to reset quickly so he can get back on the attack for the next 90 laps and try and make his way back into the top 5. He goes forward at 1.
Yeah, and here we go as they head their way off through 1 and 2, now side by side down the backstretch. The battling certainly going to be intense all throughout this race. I will say Garza may have just burnt up his stuff in the early stages of this race. Now officially a 10th of the way through it here at Richmond, and he is battling like hell to remain in that spot. Got that 0-0 car on the high side, trying to find any way in the book. That's Donson trying to make something work, and look, Campbell right behind the driver of the 204 car. Fitting, the series admin here running strong right behind, trying to find any way in the book to get past these racers as well. They've been battling, and in the act of all of that, they have been dragging anchors behind them. It's like dragging an anchor through asphalt whenever you start to battle and duke it out tooth and nail, side by side, lap after lap, especially in the early stages of this race. Oh, look, I'm still side by side, contact being made against the outside wall. The 99 there of Garza having a very scrappy start thus far here at Richmond.
Yeah, he's got to try and just keep that head cool, keep himself within the contest. Making mistakes like that, running it wide, scraping the wall, eventually it'll stack up on you, Ron, and eventually it will hurt you a lot more than it already is right now, because the more that he runs wide, the more damage he's going to be copping on that right-hand side, and the more that you get on that right-hand side, the less grip you will eventually have, and one time you come through that corner and you're going in a lot harder into the wall. You end up in pit lane needing to fix the car, so he's got to have to try and be careful just to avoid making those sorts of movements across the road.
Ooh, as they see yet again more contact being made against the wall. The number 99 not having a good start at all here at Richmond, as here comes that 204 series admin of Ryan Kamba, trying to find any way in the book to get past down the inside through the tri-oval down into turns number 1 and 2. 14 laps already on the books here in this race. We'll let you know that Scotty Oliver leads by about a second over Lee Hamby. Dylan Potts rounds out in top 3 as it stands at the present moment, but contact being made as we have that battling going on right behind. Close corner stuff still for the battle for 3rd as we jump back to that. That's Dylan Potts and Stephen Gary battling hard in the 2 and the 111 cars respectively down into turn number 1 and 2. The 111 and the 2 are going to go now 15 laps into this race, and I think with the drivers a little bit farther up the road starting to blow these racers as metaphorical doors off, we may start to see them duke out for 3rd.
Yeah, I was going to mention the statistics of drivers with 2 first names in the series. There's currently 3 of them in the field: Dakota Dennis, Stephen Gary, and Scotty Oliver. And right now, well, can we even argue that having 2 first names is better for you as a racing driver, Ron? Because Dennis is at the back of the field, but Gary and Oliver are both in the top 4, as Gary wants to make it a top 3 up the inside into 1.
Saw a phantom bump and run as they headed their way off through turn number 4. The 111 getting very close to the back of the 2, at least from our camera angles. Didn't look like there was any sort of contact. Just kind of spooked him up, and through goes the 111. Nicely played there from Stephen Gary to jump his way up into 3rd. I'm interested by that hypothesis that you raised there, Hamish. I was going to drop a comment saying that if I combined my first and middle names, that would work out well. But I don't want a full legal name myself on these broadcasts. I like being here at MotorMouth Broadcasting, but I also don't want to be the victim of identity theft.
Oh, I mean, identity theft is not a joke, Ron. Millions of families suffer every year.
Oh god, that reminds me of the old LifeLock, I think it was. The identity theft protection company that put up their CEO's social security number up on a van and all the advertising boards that they could possibly get around the neighborhood, trying to advertise how their stuff was so secure that he couldn't steal their identity, and he's gotten stolen about 26 times in the years since. So, oh, here comes a move potentially down the inside into turn number 1 and 2. That's going to be the 0-0 of Dotson trying to catch up with Potts. Potts has been bleeding time as of racing, and through he's going to go. That's Dotson jumping his way up into 4th. Potts now down to 5th. Garza and Canva still battling hard for P6 and 7 right now. They're having a swap-a-roo every single meter around this track, every single yard, I guess I have to say, since it's an American broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, I may speak in the Kings measurements, but not everyone does. Some majority of drivers, actually every driver in the series, would speak in freedom measurements, but yeah, we can see that. I mean, Potts, ever since losing that podium position, has just been, again, his rhythm's been broken, it seems. Maybe the ego's been broken a little bit as well, Ron. I mean, he's dropped pace significantly since losing that position to Stephen Gary. That gap's already out to 2.5 seconds between Potts and Gary, and it's only been a handful of laps since then. For Oliver, well, he's been giving up time to Hamby now up into P2, who's starting to chase him down, but we may be seeing Oliver maybe saving some fuel and some tyres so he can really master and maximise that strategy later in the race to try and build enough gap that he's really not under pressure from anyone in the field.
Say Oliver probably feeling the least amount of pressure out of anybody. I think the only pressure he's got on him at the present moment is the atmospheric pressure around this track. Doesn't really have anybody right up his chuff, so to speak. Nobody right around him, so he's running calm and smooth and collected up at the front and still waiting for this race to go by. Now officially through the first quarter of this race, we see a bit of a moment there from the 204 of Ryan Camba trying to adjust the camber on his car as he smacks the wall coming out of 1 and 2. I don't need to be an engineer to let you know that that is not a right strategy running around here. A Ross Chastain move can work if you have the stones and the laws of physics bending to your will, but hitting the wall coming out of the turns is just going to cause you to lose speed instead of gaining it.
Yeah, it will indeed. And since we are at the quarter mark, we will take this opportunity just to get in one of our quick little ad breaks as well. We might as well ride on board the car that this ad is for, as we're going to go for a quick ad break for ride weights. So back very, very shortly after this very, very short ad moment here. Don't go anywhere. 204 League Summer Heat Series will continue very soon.
Do you love Orlando's theme parks, but the long lines have you losing the magic? Introducing Ride Weights, the Apple Watch app designed to help you skip the stress and ride more, with real-time wait times and park info right on your wrist. Whether you're exploring Walt Disney World, adventuring through Universal Orlando, or taking it all in at SeaWorld, Ride Weights helps you navigate smarter and get the most out of your visit. No more wandering, no more guessing, just more riding. And it's not just wait times. Ride Weights also offers tips on the best times to ride, general park info, and helpful alerts so you never miss out on your favorite attraction. Whether you're planning ahead or making game day decisions in the park, Ride Weights keeps everything you need at a quick glance away. Ride Weights, your wrist-side guide to the best parks in Orlando. Available now on the Apple Watch store.
Not affiliated with or endorsed by any theme.
Welcome back to the 204 League presents the Summer Heat Series for Round 5 here at Richmond Raceway. We've been riding on board with Marcus de la Garza after that short message there from Ride Weights. You can find out on the smartwatch app of Ride Weights how long indeed you'll have a wait for a ride when you're out at possibly Disneyland or Six Flags or whatever your local or holiday destination theme park is. They've got an offer for you in the US. Ron, it's been a bit of an interesting first sort of third of this race. Battle's really been happening here for P5 on the road, and for Marcus de la Garza, who started out at P5, is our Dash for Cash racer here tonight. He's got to try and make up that one position again, get back to where he started if he hopes to take home the $15 at the end of tonight's event.
still running on a good performance as it stands right now. Needs to make up some ground to be able to get back into that spot. Let's just see how things are all going to shake out here. We only have 32 laps in to this 100 lap long race. There's still plenty of time left to get dicey and left to go up into that spot between now and the very end of it. We'll say Oliver rather dominant up at the front, setting good lap after good lap. Want to compare some lap times that we have seen from these racers as of recent. Scotty Oliver, last time by, actually 2/10 slower than Lee Hamby, which is part of the reason why that gap has gone down to about 0.6 of a second compared to the second that it was, the full second it was not terribly long ago. But still very, very good on the lap times. And outside of a couple little blips here and there, Scotty Oliver still running rather dominant at this point in the race in that 118 machine. Hamish, you said in the early stages of this broadcast here tonight that he was a driver that you could imagine was going to be the dominant force here tonight. From what you've seen thus far in the first 34, coming to 35 laps in here in this 100 race tonight, would you say that that still rings true? Do you think you have a bit of apprehension about that previous statement?
No, I still believe it. I think he's driven incredibly clean thus far in this race. I think the difference is Hamby's managed to get into that, slipstream position, which has now just started to drag him back into it. He realistically only needed 2 or 3 poor laps from Scotty to catch up to him and then get into that tow range. So now that he's within it, he's within that 0.6 of a second, he can just sit here now, save some fuel, maybe really get up onto the back of Oliver's car and then put some pressure on him towards the end of the race. But I think Scotty's proven prior to now that he is he's a cool, calm, collected customer. And it's going to take a lot for Hamby to spook him or for Hamby to get past him as well aboard that 47. So for the moment, I do think it is Scotty's race to lose. He's been very, very dominant at the pace in qualifying. Hamby's had good pace too. He's gone with him starting at a P2, but with nearly 60 laps to go, anything can happen, but I'm going to stand by.
A lot that can happen between now and the end of this race. Think about the amount of things that can happen in the span of a 100 lap long race at Richmond. The moon could explode, the sun could completely dry out. I'm not sure if a sun could dry out, the oceans could. We could have an asteroid come down and crash down here, which I don't think would be very good news for me up in the city of Philadelphia because it's not too terribly far away.
A fan could throw a rock onto the circuit right at the right time, hit Scotty Oliver's tyre, blow the tyre, send him into pit lane to have to, after he's taken his pit stops actually, and he has no tyre changes left, so he has to deal with the puncture. Right there. That would probably be the only case, I think, the only outside case I can see.
Yeah, I was thinking when he said that it was going to spin off into a whole, like, I know I said Final Fantasy, Final Destination sort of situation. I was like, I'm not really sure if YouTube would allow us to show that on this broadcast. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we will not see people in the grandstands get turned into tomato paste. Keeping our fingers crossed we won't see that between now and the end of this race. Yeah, a lot of paperwork involved in something like that. Yeah. We'll say that we got a battle up in the front potentially flaring up as it's now only about a quarter of a second between Scotty Oliver and Lee Hamby after setting his best lap of the race a little bit earlier on this evening here, Hamish. Lee's slowly but surely started to reel it in, saying quicker lap after quicker lap, and is really keeping that 118 car honest.
Yeah, he's happy just to slowly but surely catch up to him. He knows he's got plenty of laps to do it. With the lap traffic ahead of him, so I've just seen Marcus de la Garza has been in pit road. Ryan Kim is currently in pit road as well. So they're both taking their first or their only stops of the race. We would assume they're on the 43rd lap of the race as Cam just returns the circuit. They're now approaching the lap traffic of Dakota Dennis as Gary and Keeler into pit lane 2, and here comes the race leaders. So I have to wonder if the maximum length of time they can go on fuel, as that was very, very close to contact being made. If the longest period they can go is 43 laps on fuel, that tells me, Ron, that we're going to get another stop in this race to get to the end, possibly. And if that does happen, do we then see them taking right-hand side tyres only on both stops?
That's a good question that you raised there. I still feel like it may be a bit iffy in terms of taking the tires. We'll just have to see exactly what these drivers have been able to do. Looking at the lap time fall off during that first stint, didn't really see too much of it. So I think that may be the right strategy called. Just take right side tires and go with it. That's what both of those drivers are going to be doing. A good jump there, must be said, from the 118 of Scotty Oliver. He's going to be stuck behind a lap car though on pit exit. That's not going to help out his cause at all. Up on the jacks there, that's the 00 of Donson. You can see him now out and away, but here we go. That's a 118 trying to get past that lap car there. This is falling right into the lap of the 47 of Lee Hamby. Is helping out his case quite a lot after a slightly slower stop. It may not have been a whole lot of time, but can make a huge difference now. Has to deal with that lap car that the 118 had to deal with himself. It looks like he'll be stuck beyond, heading down into 3 and 4 right now. So we think about the pit stops, how important it is to get a good run. It's also important to know what kind of position you find yourself in on exit. If you deal with a whole lot of lap traffic, your tires are going to be sad, and if you're chasing after a car who gets a better end of the deal when it comes to dealing with the lap traffic, you're going to be sad.
Massive mistake here from Rob Donaldson and Marcus De La Garza. Both drivers taking 4 tyres here, Ron, compared to everybody else who only took 2. I think that there is arguably a nail in the coffin for them, having to take 4 on the one stop. If they don't need a second pit stop in this race, it's even more so a nail in the coffin, because all of a sudden they've taken a longer pit stop when they didn't need to. And as well, they don't have those extra 2 tyres to the end of the race in case they want to come in late and take some if it's a late race caution. And for De La Garza now, he's a lap down and at the very back of the field. That may be dash for cash over and done with for him. As Dakota Dennis has just had an incident with him as he just ran past him on that yellow flag. What's happened?
Let's take a look at this. Heading down the start-finish stretch into turns number 1 and 2. Was it contact?
Well,
it was contact. Around he's going to go. Avoids the barrier. Ends up in the marbles, though. And because of that car being stopped above the apron, that will bring out the first caution of this race. It comes rather significantly into it as well. Already through the first pit cycle and just a couple laps short of that halfway mark. Now, Hamish, I got to wonder, will we see these racers come down pit lane? At least some racers come down pit lane for a quick little splash and dash. Hasn't been too long since they came into the pits, but any little bit can help.
Front runners are coming in. The front runners are coming in, but the pit lane's closed. So...
Oh no!
What have they done? The pit lane is closed. The red light, and this is what confuses me sometimes, Ron, and maybe you can explain it better to me, because I've had this case before where I've thought the pit lane's closed because the red lights are on, but in fact the drivers have not been penalised for coming in down pit road. The pit lane appears to be closed because the red lights are on. Are we only going to get the answer that it is truly closed if they come back around and they have to drive through again?
Yeah, that's a big mistake to make. I mean, you see the red light, that means the pit lane's closed. There's no question or shadow of a doubt about it. So how's this all going to work out? If they just both picked up penalties, that is going to swing this door wide open. Let's see as they head their way down through 3 and 4 this time by. The red light's still on.
Yeah, so
I'd that's a 2 coming down pit lane.
I'd say that it's fine. I'd say that they just don't have a penalty for entering the closed pit lane. Or they don't have a closed and open sequence automatically included. That's the argument I'll make. Although Oliver's back in, and I think Donaldson's back in as well. So, are they driving through because they entered the closed pit lane? I suppose, if they did get the penalty, Ron, no, they're coming in, they're going to take a little bit more fuel again. So, you know, they take a bit more fuel for doing so.
Oh.
So you know it's a stop hold. They've got a stop hold because they did enter the closed pit lane. I think. Because Donaldson's back out. Oh no, they're back out again. No. I'm just wrong. They're taking fuel and I think they're taking more tyres.
Yeah, I saw the 118 up on the jacks. I was like, oh, don't tell me we're going to have some tire stops during all this as well. I mean, if there is a time to come in multiple times down pit lane, if you come into pits, you're already going to be down there at the back. So you may as well just come in multiple times, keep topping up with gas,
Yeah.
because you're going to be in pretty much the exact same spot that you were going to be before. I mean, Oliver is still going to be restarting this race, I believe, in P6. So it doesn't really hurt him too much to just get a little bit of extra fuel. And plus, as well, that sort of thing could really snowball in your favor come time for the later stages of this race. Be good on fuel now, and you're going to be smelling like a rose come time for the end of this race. But speaking of rose, it is going to be a front row comprised of two rather interesting cases. Stephen Gary and Ryan Gamba going to be starting this race in P1 and P2, restarting it, I should say, as that pace car making that call to come down pit lane. The first restart of the night, and we're back racing here at Richmond. Look at that triple one of Gary getting off to a flyer on the inside line, the ideal spot to be in for these restarts. The 204 though of Kamba now going to have to worry about the 47 of Lee Hamby right behind. That's going to be a battle of the times as they battle for the final two podium spots and try and see who's going to be the first to really give the triple one hell farther up the road.
So I noticed as well, Marcus De La Garza had an end-of-line penalty for dumping Dakota Dennis on his move up into P8, so he is still a lap down on the leaders at the moment. That then gave Dakota Dennis the lucky dog, which gave them the opportunity to get back onto the lead lap. So luckily for Dakota, getting spun was actually probably a good thing because the caution came out. They got back on the lead lap, and the person who spun you remained a lap down. So it's not worked out too poorly for them that time. Donaldson's come back through pit lane, by the way. They're taking another stop, it seems. So that's 5 runs. Wrong
and
time
like
to
reach for the bag of cough drops a hand to you there.
Yeah.
Well, we got caution coming at now
do.
in this the second one. What in the world has gone on to bring out the second caution of this race? Let's take a look. That's a double O car coming out of the pits. Is it a spin on exit? Is some sort of extra drama heading down the backstretch into the turn? Nope, just gonna come to a stop. Potentially some sort of difficulties, maybe a penalty on pit exit, but either way, the 00 car coming to a stop. That's going to bring out another yellow. A little bit surprising that did bring out a caution. Usually on iRacing, they don't bring out a yellow unless you have some sort of moment above that yellow line. Didn't see that, just locked it up, turned the front tires into rectangles, and as a result of all of that, that's going to bring out another caution here in this race, and we're going to see more drivers make that call to come down pit lane. That's Kamba in the 204 car trundling his way down pit lane, going to be joined by the likes of Dennis, Keeler, and others. Donson, he's in the pits at the present moment. We'll have to see whether or not there's any sort of penalty or what the deal was for that 00 car just stopping and grinding to a halt immediately, bringing out a yellow. That's not going to sit very well for the competitors, as that's not going to sit well at all right behind. That's the 08 of Keeler, stopping way too short of the marks and having to toe up a little bit to actually hit the stall and finally get service. That's going to be a big kick in the shins for him.
De La Garza as well is now back on the lead lap, so that's worked out well for the 99 car, who's also now jumped Dennis and Donaldson. I believe he's going to give Keeler the position because he was ahead of him at the blue cone. Stephen Gary, though, will have the lead of this race. Lee Hamby, Dylan Potts, Scotty Oliver, Ryan Camber, the top 5. Keeler, De La Garza, who's now in a pit road. Dennis and Donaldson make up the running order at the moment. We're going to take this time to have a quick ad break. We'll join you back once again when we go green flag running here at Richmond Raceway. Don't go anywhere. 204 Summer Heat Series continues shortly after these short messages.
204 League presents Tuesday, late model stocks under the lights. Proudly presented by MotorMouth Broadcasting. From multiple countries compete nose to tail on America's most legendary short tracks. Tracks like IRP, Bristol, Myrtle Beach, and more. Come see some of the best drivers on iRacing battle door to door. Names like Scotty Oliver, Nolan Perry, Riley Duncan, and Tyler Smith, along with up-and-coming drivers like Stephen Gary, Hugh Escobar, Marcus De La Garza, and Ryan Camba. For the best late model stock action on iRacing, come visit MotorMouth Broadcasting on YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tuesday nights, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Only on the 204 League, where the big ones run.
Welcome back to the 204 League, presenting the Summer Heat Series, round 5 tonight here at Richmond Raceway. Hamish Monroe with you alongside Ron Morns once again. Ron, it's been a hectic last few laps, 2 cautions in the span of around about 10 laps here in this race. As the pace car comes in, we'll get to the restart zone and we'll go green flag running again.
Yeah, after some chaos as of recent moment, these drivers hoping that we can settle into a groove again here in this race as we're back up and rolling. A fantastic restart there at the front. Leading us back to green is going to be that 111 car, who's been rather content with the chaos that's going on as of recent events. That right there is Stephen Gary, who is running well in the early stages, now running smooth yet again. The 47 battling hard. That's Lee Hamby battling very hard with Dylan Potts as they head their way off through turns number 3 and 4, getting now to the start of lap number 62 in this 100 lap long race here for race number 5 of this season. And looking at some racers on wildly different strategies, looking at Dylan Potts jumping up a couple of lanes as he ends his way off through the turn. Gonna have to try and block off a run on the high side there. Looking very adventurous is a 118-year former race leader of Scotty Oliver. Potts now trying to fight like hell to remain in the podium spots.
Yeah, he wants this podium as best he can get it, and he does not want to give it up. We're into the latter half of the race now. In fact, 38 laps to go. We're nearly out a third of the way to go in this one. Stephen Garrett's last lap of the race, 22.56 the last time by for the race leader. The other important thing to mention too is Marcus De La Garza, who's our Dash for Cash racer tonight. Needs to make up 2 spots to get past Dakota Dennis and Ryan Camber to get into a Dash for Cash position inside of the top 5. He started P5 tonight, but he is currently a bit further back and in a hot battle here with Dakota Dennis for P6.
Someone is really squabbling up at the pack of this field. We see them heading their way down into turn number 3 and 4. 3 cars covered by just about nothing. These spots still rather important at the present moment here in this race this evening. Getting into the closing stages as well, already more than half of the way through this race. And I think that's part of the reason why we're starting to see these racers give each other a little bit more of a headache. That's the 99 of Garza, who's been up and down this race like Otis Elevator. As we take a look at battle for P3, that's Potts and Oliver battling hard to Dylan Potts, and Oliver still battling for that spot. Oliver looking to jump his way back up to the front of the field. Scotty was running good in the early stages, then came time for that first yellow, and as a result, some pit stops have come along with it. He has lost out on some time, but let's see how he'll be able to do. You penciled him early on as a very formidable force in this race. Let's see how things are going to work out as side by side for the front. That's Gary and Hamby battling hard in through the turn. Look at that 111 car on the outside of Stephen Gary, but Lee Hamby going to have that inside approach down into turn number 3 and 4, and he's going to jump his way through. Look at that 111 car. I thought he was going to try and fight back on the inside, but Hamby going to back out of it, rightfully so. He's choosing to pick and choose his battles, and right now Hamby jumps into the lead as that 111 of Gary going to decide to slot in P2 and run in a good spot for now.
Battle for the race lead has really been intensifying over the last few laps. Not just the lead race battle either between Gary and Hamby, but Oliver and Potts, as we mentioned, has been inside this little intense one-on-one between them both as well. And Ryan Camber at the moment's probably got the best seat in the house to watch all this action happening. He's back in P5 at this stage as he sits behind Dylan Potts, and Ryan, he might mention himself, might be getting a nosebleed being so high up the running order at this stage. But for Potts and Oliver, you know, they want to try and keep this battle happening for a podium position. Oliver wants to get back to the lead, obviously. That's where he started in P1. He's back in P3 at the moment, and he's all over the back of Steve Gary. And Lee Hamby will be looking in that rear view right now, Ron, and he'll be thinking to himself, oh, please, Stephen, please, hold off Scotty Oliver. I don't want him hot on my heels, but it may only be a short matter of time as we exit lap 69. Nice going to lap 70. This battle now looks to continue on.
Yeah, looking at these racers as they head their way down into turn number 1 and 2. Look at that 111 car sliding a little bit wide, and here we go. The battle down the backstretch between Scotty Oliver and Stephen Gary. That 118 of Oliver going to jump out into P2. Thought the 111 was going to go for it on the exit of the turn, but not able to keep the momentum rolling. We'll say a little bit of damage on the front end of that car as well. You can see the front right of that 111 of Stephen Gary. kind of a little bit askew. I will say this isn't the quickest racetrack in the world, so you won't have to worry about that too much, but it is one of the quicker ones from this season's calendar, so that can affect you a little bit more here as we are getting into crunch time lap 72, coming up into the final quarter of this race, and we're coming up to it with about a half a second being the gap between Lee Hamby and Scotty Oliver. It's still going to be close between those racers all the way through to the end. Anything more to mention in terms of the drama at this point of the race? Looking a little bit farther behind where we've got a battle of the Titans for P6. It's Dakota Dennis, Marcus De La Garza, and Mark Keller battling really hard for the spots. We jump back to that battle and follow them as they had their way down into turn number 1 and 2. As much as the battle up at the front is certainly intense, this battle behind, it can end in tears. We saw drama involving these racers bring out the first yellow of this race, and as they're still pretty much packed in like sardines in this battle right now, I cannot rule it out happening again.
No, I can't either. I think the intensity is gotten to such a high level right now. It feels like Richmond Raceway has become a pressure cooker, and we're just starting to boil over a little bit as De La Garza just exits turn 2 up towards 3 and just snips a slight lead over Dennis here, but running that outside line, it's been a struggle for De La Garza all race. We've seen him run wide and tap the wall quite a few times, specifically off the exit of 2. They come down through turn 1, nearly make contact. Keeler wants to get up there now. Dennis is back ahead once again as they run down the back stretch. It's anyone's game here in the battle for P6 as there's contact between Dennis and Keeler. He straightens him up, 25 laps to go, no caution thrown, and the battle looks to continue on. We've got to have a quick break here just to hear from more of our sponsors of the series. We'll be back very soon, but the intensity is going to continue as we hang on to this battle of the 204 League presenting the Summer Heat Series right here live on MotorMouth Broadcasting.
From the track to the tech, Creative Castle keeps your code running as clean as your laps. We test real-world devices and digital platforms so your next release won't crash into turn 1. At Creative Castle, we elevate your software with expert quality assurance and cross-platform testing. Whether it's native apps or networked hardware, we deliver precision-tested performance at scale. Behind every smooth app and smart device is a quiet castle. Creative Castle. We're the quality wizards and test knights who battle bugs and break bad code before it breaks your product. Creative Castle. Quality at full throttle. Your quest for quality ends here. In logistics, precision isn't a goal, it's the expectation. At Aspire Crossdock, we exceed it every day. Serving Fortune 50 companies from our strategic hubs in Greensboro, North Carolina, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Aspire Crossdock delivers fast, reliable, and fully customizable logistics solutions tailored to your supply chain. From expedited cross-dock to end-to-end third-party logistics, we're not just a 3PL provider. We're your competitive edge. Driven by the latest technology and guided by a relentless focus on service, Aspire Crossdock brings you unmatched speed, visibility, and accuracy in every single shipment. Innovation, execution, satisfaction. Aspire Crossdock isn't just keeping up, we are setting the pace. Find us on aspirecompany.biz. Aspire Crossdock, where logistics meets success.
Back again here with tonight's coverage of the Summer Heat Late Model League here, presented by 204 League, as Lee Hamby at the front at the present moment, pulling away from your at one point dominant race leader, slotted in P2 of Scotty Oliver. He's got a nice little battle going on right behind him, though. It's a battle for the final podium spot that may get dicey with Ryan Kamba and Stephen Gary. Very close quarter stuff all throughout this field, these racers, with the end of the race right there in their windscreen, coming up in about 18 laps time for Lee Hamby and that number 47 machine to come to victory lane here at Richmond. An important race for this championship as well. Round number 5 may not seem like too much, but this is the same track they'll play host to the season finale come time for late September, when we will crown a champion here in 204 League. So these racers have a bit more importance riding in this race. That could be part of the reason why they're really testing the limits of both their cars, the track, and their competitors.
is right on board, back with Marcus De La Garza, who continues his battle with Dakota Dennis. The dash for cash is probably a bit far away from him here, Ron, as he's back in P8 at this stage. Closest position he can get to is probably P6 in Mark Keeler, because Dylan Potts is around about 3 seconds away from Marcus at this stage. So unless there's a mistake made from the cars ahead of him, that money is not going to jackpot this week. It's going to roll over to next week, where we'll add another $15 when we go racing next time.
Yeah, of course, next time, Matt, you'll be able to catch the action here on MotorMouth Broadcasting from the race at North Wilkesboro, staying on NASCAR short track, heading to a fun one. It's here we go. It's starting to get really intense, really terrifying from our perspective as well. Between these two racers, we follow that number 99 car of Marcus De La Garza. He has had a very wacky race up to this point here at Richmond. He was battling and scraping and clawing for some of the podium spots a little bit earlier on, and then a switch flipped. I feel like he's been battling with his competitors as much as he's been battling with his own race car. That number 99 has really struggled to stay in a straight line. Currently the last of the cars on the lead lap. You see Dotson right behind, multiple laps down as a result of a moment a little bit earlier on in this race where he had to tow back to pit lane. We've kept it rather clean outside that moment for Dotson, where it wasn't even a crash. He just locked it up big time on the apron and came to a stop right as he was coming out of pit lane. Outside of that, and a moment for the 919 car of Dennis a little bit earlier on. Been a clean one here at Richmond for race number 5, and for Lee Hamby, it is a comfortable gap at the present moment. However, that's gone down a little bit. Was 1.5 seconds not terribly long ago, only 1.1 now. And looking at the drivers and the last laps they set, Scotty Oliver shaving a little bit of time on the previous lap, but he is really starting to turn up the wick.
Well, to kind of give the sort of inside baseball, I guess we could say, on tonight's event. When we initially did the pre-race wheel spin for the Dash for Cash, it actually landed on P2, but that was when we only had 7 cars in the session. So we re-rolled and we had 9, that gave us P5 in the end. Lee Hamby started in P2 tonight. So if we had actually had 7 cars, we didn't get the 2 extras, it would have stayed at P2. And Lee, right now, would be on for $15 once again, 2 weeks in a row. But unfortunately, he got re-rolled out of it. And now, well, he's going to take a race win, it looks to be. It's only down to about 1 second, and with 10 laps to go, anything can happen with Scotty Oliver chasing him down. But if you're Hamby, you might be a bit disappointed that 2 extra drivers showed up tonight, because you could have been $15 richer.
Yeah, I feel like you could have gone without sharing that information, and you probably would have been a lot happier tuning into this broadcast.
I like to share disappointments, Ron. I like to share disappointments with some drivers. And Stephen Gary is into pit road. So Gary is down pit road. He didn't pit under the cautions. He never pitted under the cautions, so he always was going to have to come in for a second stop. So that now, for Marcus De La Garza, has given him somewhat of a lifeline. If he can get past Dylan Potts and Dakota Dennis, he could be in that dash for cash position, but he's got 8 laps to do it. Can he get the position, and can he get it?
Yeah, I will say one thing that's helping him is the fact that Potts really starting to drop down a little bit. He was involved in that battle with himself in the 08 car of Keeler not terribly long ago, but he's now starting to lose out on some ground. If himself and Dennis can really start to battle, this could be very, very good for Marcus De La Garza at the end of this race. Oh, look at that close quarter stuff. Heading down into turn number 1, the 2, and the 919 cars nearly coming to blows as they head their way down in there. And look right there, Garza in that number 99 machine right there within striking distance, side by side into turn number 3 and 4. They're gonna go a move down the inside from Dennis. Let's see if he can make this work on Potts. They'll still be side by side across the line. Now about 5 laps left to go here at Richmond, but they're still tense into turn number 1 and 2. That's a move from the 919. Gonna jump his way up a spot, but there's Garza. He's right there to pounce. 2 moves and he'll be $15 richer at the end of this race here tonight. Let's see what he'll be able to do. That car has really struggled. He was quick in the early stages. They're at the midsection though, not running very strong. If he's here to peak though, he's peaking at the right time.
For Potts, he pitted on lap 50 under the caution. For De La Garza and Dennis, they pitted on lap 57 and 56. And there's another wall touch for De La Garza, trying to go for it on the outside line. So I have to wonder here, Ron, that maybe Potts has to save some fuel just to get that car home. It's 4 laps to go. Pressure's on for De La Garza as the race leader's in. Lee Hamby into pit road. Does Scotty Oliver have to come in as well? He's gone another lap. So is Ryan Camber. How tight are they on the fuel levels? And how tight are they to get to the checkered flag? I think Oliver's out of fuel.
Oh, he's got to be out. Yeah, he's got to be out. I was thinking that he may have enough fuel at the end of this race, was running up at full song. Hamby, I thought he was good to go on gas because he was starting to pull away. But I think the 118, he's struggling for gas as well. Let's see him. No, staying out yet again. What in the world is going on? There's no way he picked up a slowdown. He's just really slow out there on the racetrack. Looking very good for Ryan Camba, who before this race said to us here in the broadcast booth, hey, you're probably going to have some yellows. I'm probably going to spin out all by my lonesome here. Now with about a lap and a half left to go, he's on track to potentially grab a victory here. Let's see how he's doing around this racetrack as we're about to get that white flag in the air for him. One more lap of racing action for Camba as he heads his way down to the turn. Oliver, he's still out there on the racetrack staying out, so it will be P2 for him if he can hold on to that spot. Looking now that battle for fifth. I think Garza with that contact, he's really starting to drop back. He'll have to hope that the 2 car runs out of fuel coming right to the end of this race, but in a shocking and dramatic turn of events, that's going to be your 204 series admin and race winner here of Ryan Camba grabbing the checkered flag at Richmond. He gets it done. It's going to be Scotty Oliver finishing in P2, Keeler in fourth. It'll be Keeler in third, Dennis in fourth. Garza got P5. He got P5.
Yeah, Potts ran out of fuel. Dylan Potts has run out of fuel, and De La Garza has somehow lucked his way back into the dash for cash position. That there is probably one of the wildest finishes I think we've seen all season. Just in terms of strategy. Not in terms of chaos, but the strategy of some drivers. For Oliver, he barely made it to the end. Same for Dylan Potts. And the fact that Ryan Camber has just won the whole thing after claiming he'd self-spin. He's up 5 spots. He's in the race winning position. And then De La Garza also wins the pot. 2 weeks in a row, we have filled the dash for cash. Amazing. Immense. Absolutely amazing.
Holy cow, what a race that we had here. What a race. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was expecting it to just be smooth for a Hamby up at the front. He was holding on to, I think it was about a 2.5 second gap. Yeah. I was just going to raise it that, yeah, he was running comfortable. He was running smooth. Then he has to come down pit lane. And when that happened, all hell broke loose. But for your series admin, your winner at the end of this race, his car didn't look completely factory fresh coming across the line, but Ryan Camba going to make up 5 spots from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered to grab the win here at Richmond. A brilliant drive from him. Well done to the driver of the 204 machine. Brilliant stuff from the entirety of the field. They put on a monster show today. Well done.
They did indeed. Let's quickly drag in our Dash for Cash winner tonight, Marcus De La Garza. Marcus, I don't know what to say. You were our Dash for Cash driver tonight. And
really?
And you've just won yourself $15. We thought it was all done. We thought there's no way. You were so far back battling with Dennis. We thought, surely there's not a way you get into the top 5. And then Hamby has to pit. Gary had to pit. Potts ran out of fuel in the last lap, and you snuck your way in.
You know, Hamish, it was really, really, really crazy. They actually ran out of fuel coming into the pits there to just try and park the car. So.
Oh my God. We said it on the broadcast. It was probably one of the wildest ends to a race in terms of strategy and how this played out for you guys on circuit. But, honestly, Ron, we almost wrote Marcus off towards the end. We're like, we're probably just going to get to the checkered flag. These guys surely can make it on fuel. And then we kind of just looked past the moment of, well, actually, no, some drivers pitted before or around lap 50. They couldn't make 50 laps on the initial run. And without more cautions, you never managed to make it to the end. But, you guys probably lucked out in the end there.
We really did. I messed up there. I turned Dakota Dennis there, whatever lap that was, 40 something. And we got that quick caution right after that, 10 or 15 laps later. And I realized that was my chance to pit for fuel and maybe run it to the end. So I went with it, you guys. kind of just worked out, in my favor. I do want to say though, I'm paying myself because I'm one of the 2 sponsors for the Dash for Cash. So.
Well, I mean, now you can buy a track if you need it, I suppose, or maybe a car as well, an iRacing, or I don't know, get yourself a celebratory dinner somewhere. I don't know where you're going to be able to find a dinner locally for $15, but especially in this economy.
My local bar does a nice happy hour special. I can at least get a 2-for-1 bourbon.
Well, there you go. That'll work out well for you. But congratulations, Marcus. This week's Dash for Cash winner. 2 weeks in a row, the pot's paid out. I suppose that you would have been hoping maybe last week it would have actually rolled over to this week because you would have been a hell of a lot more in your pocket. But yeah, congratulations. Let us know anyone you want to give a shout out to. And for myself and Ron and all of us here at MotorMouth, best of luck next week out at North Wilkesboro.
Thank you very much, Hamish. And, just shout outs, 204 League, Ryan Kamba, and then all of our sponsors, whether it's Creative Castle or Rob Donison's company. I'm so sorry, I can't remember right now. I think it's Aspire by Doc. But, whoever it is, whoever's sponsoring us, we appreciate you guys so much. And thank you guys, Hamish and Ron, for broadcasting us. We appreciate you guys so much.
No worries, Marcus. Thank you so much. Best of luck next week. Our Dash for Cash winner here tonight, Marcus De La Garza, who had an incredible run to the end there, Ron. And I'm gobsmacked by the end of this race. Honestly, I am. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic stuff here at Richmond. The drama that we had in the second half, the first half, that was rather tame. These racers were keeping it cool. Then when that first yellow came out, I would describe it as bedlam. Bedlam broke out. It was pandemonium from that point on. It was fantastic for us in the broadcast booth. Commiserations to Scotty Oliver, who I saw briefly was in the interview waiting area. He has now left.
He's on the bar. He's on the bar stool, so we can actually drag him in for a quick chat still. Let's have a quick chat to him. Oh, he's back in there again. He must be watching and listening to us. So let's drag him in. Scotty. Ran out of fuel did you actually run out on the last lap, or was it just full fuel save to the end?
I ran out coming off of 4, but I was saving hard there.
Yeah, we rode on board with you for the second to last lap, and I heard the clutch in at turn 4 as you got the white flag. I'm like, oh, this is going to be tight.
Yeah.
How much were you sweating in the hopes you were at least going to make it to the end on the podium?
Well, I was just at the end there, or after the second pit or the first stop, seen I didn't have enough, so I was like, well, I'll do a splash and go. So I did that, come out, and I was like, well, still not going to have enough. So I saved when I come back out after that splash and go, I was still 3 laps short. So I saved 3 laps there and come up about a half a lap short.
Now, do you think maybe, well, obviously, if you'd pitted under that second caution when the likes of Camber, Keeler, De La Garza all came in, you probably would have been in that better position of not having to fuel save, but I almost kind of want to thank you for not doing that, because that made it really exciting to the end there. So you almost, you gave us something really cool to watch the end of the race. Obviously, it's not so good because you lost the race win, but still some solid points, especially with some of the other fast drivers, including your teammate Tyler and Riley Duncan as well, not on track tonight too. So some good points on offer for you.
Oh, yeah. I feel like still kicking myself in the butt for last week. I felt like I gave one away there, getting that penalty off of pit road, but it'd be like that sometimes. I mean, we got some fast guys in here, so you got to try to get every advantage you can get, and sometimes the mistakes happen.
They do indeed. Ron, is there anything you want to ask Scotty before we let him go here tonight?
Yeah, no, I think the only question I would have is asking about next week's race at North Wilkesboro, staying on another NASCAR track, but that is a rather big departure than the race that we had here at Richmond.
Oh, yeah, for sure. North Wilkesboro usually puts on a pretty good show. I'm decent there, so hopefully we'll have pretty good speed. See what happens there. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Scotty, thank you so much for coming and have a chat to us. Great job, at least, on getting your P2 here tonight. Fantastic effort to save the fuel all the way to the end. And commiserations on missing out on that race win. But let us know anyone you want to give a shout-out to, any friends or family who may be watching. And, as I said, congrats on the P2 and best of luck next week out at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah. Thank you. I want to give a shout out to my wife and my little girl for allowing me to race on Tuesday nights. I need to thank Top Tier Custom Design and Apparel, Billy's Badass Barbecue. I want to give a shout out to my teammate Tyler. Hope you get a better man, and hopefully you're back with us next week. And you guys for the awesome broadcast, and Ryan at 204 League for giving us a place to race.
No worries at all, Scotty. Thank you so much for coming and have a chat to us.
Yep.
Best of luck next week, and look forward to seeing how you run. Scott Oliver there, P2 in the end, saving enough fuel to get it right to the end of the race. And then now, our race winner, well, when you know who won the pony, I've said the story before. You'll have to watch back a few weeks ago to find out the story of the pony in the raffle. Chatting to Ron Montz here, our race winner, Ryan Camber, this evening.
Yeah, and Ryan, welcome back into the broadcast booth. You know, you called your shot earlier on tonight and said that you were going to give us 2 yellows because of self-spins. Well, we had 2 yellows. Neither of them were caused by you, but you grabbed one flag, and that is a checkered flag. So how was it out there?
That was fabulous. That was a game of strategy out there tonight.
It definitely looked like a strategic race. I want to ask you about the strategy content and how important it was to nail down those pit stops. We saw some penalties, some drivers really ending up in a world of hurt as a result of some bad pit runs. So how important was it just to ace that pit call?
I'm not going to lie to you. That was a mistake on my part. After the first fuel stop, I decided I'm just going to save and I'm not going to pit again. Then we had that second caution and everybody pitted, and I was so focused on saving fuel, I didn't pit. So all the other guys were laughing at me because I wasn't going to make it on fuel unless I really saved. So then we had that third caution, and that was my redeeming factor right there. You know, pull into the pits and top off with fuel. I thought, why aren't the rest of the guys pulling in? And it just luck of the draw. Another caution that would have ruined my strategy, but it worked out for us tonight.
Yeah, I was going to ask you in terms of the fuel saving, how easily accessible was that ignition off button on your steering wheel? I got to imagine that's what it had to have come down to, lifting off big time, clutching in big time, heading down into the turns, probably killing the engine from time to time as well. So how was it trying to do that fuel saving while also maintaining pace?
It was really rough on me because I'm not used to doing it. I've been practicing at it, and I'm pretty good at botching it up. But every corner was just you had to focus on it and turning the engine off, getting the clutch in, getting the clutch back out, turning it back on at the right times.
Certainly a balancing act here at Richmond. But looking ahead to next week's race at North Wilkesboro, staying on a track on the NASCAR calendar, but heading off to a whole different kettle of fish there. So what are your thoughts heading off to North Wilkesboro in 1 week's time?
North Wilkesboro is always fun with these cars. I mean, we get a lot of 2-wide racing. We should have some of the guys that were absent this week back. It's a fun track. We've always liked going there, so I'm looking forward to it. Like you said, it's a whole different barrel of monkeys. This whole different strategy. Pit road is completely different. Some of the guys that are good at tracks that like Richmond and whatnot, they're not real familiar with North Wilkesboro, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, and certainly looking forward to that race in 1 week's time. Ryan, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to throw a shout out to every one of these guys in this league. I mean, they all make it happen. Everybody contributes. It's a great group of guys. I really couldn't ask for a better group. We've got Crazy Tees up in Potter that sponsor us. They're great to us. Studio 204 provides all the promotional materials. Top Tier and Ride Weights, Creative Castle, they've all contributed and helped us get here. Lugnut, and like I said, just all the guys that come out and help us out. And I'm sure they're all glad to see the 204 finally make it in the winner's circle for once. And
Well, Ryan, I also want to point out as well, I did mention it to Marcus. So, number one, the Dash for Cash has actually paid out tonight. So, the statistic of the statistic of you needing to be away leads to it paying out is now null and void. But we have got a new stat. When there's no gym, you win. So, there's
You have a point. You
Yeah.
have a point.
So
I'm
that-
going to have to go steal the power strip from his sim.
Well, no, that means now next week when there's no Jim Cunningham again, you're gonna win again. Like that's the
I got a good chance.
yeah, and it's the classic case once again of wouldn't you know who won the pony? Well, it was the admin Ryan. So, great job tonight, Ryan. Congratulations on your race win. Best of luck next week at North Wilkesboro. Thanks so much for coming and have a quick chat to us.
Thank you, Amish. Thanks, Ron. You guys have yourself a good evening.
No worries, thank you. Well, Ron, what a race it was. We thought, we got kind of to the lull period and it was getting a little bit spread out. Then the caution came out. And how much of a domino effect did those cautions have towards the end of the race? One that we couldn't even predict would have such a strong effect for the whole race and the whole race dynamic and how the race actually ended up turning out to be.
Once those yellows came out, it snowballed from there. And I gotta say, that snowball, instead of crashing down into some poor person's house, it resulted in a fantastic finish to this race. Dramatic to be sure, but exciting as well. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast here on MotorMouth Broadcasting, if you want to stay tuned for all of the action that the 204 Summer Heat League has to offer here for the late models, you will not miss out on the action by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Next time we're going to be running at North Wilkesboro, but that does not do it for the action that we've got here every single week on MotorMouth Broadcasting. In fact, that is basically the tip of the iceberg, really, when it comes to everything that we've got in store for you every single week. Tomorrow here on MotorMouth, you can catch the action from the High Point GT Challenge, round number 7 of the season. Will be coming to you live from Daytona, and then the day after, on this upcoming Thursday, you'll be able to turn into High Point's IMSA championship for their 7th round at Road America. A lot of good action to look forward to here on Motormouth. But for this broadcast here, for round number 5 of the championship here live at Richmond Raceway, I think that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, and Hamish Monroe working the comms and the cams with me on this broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the show here on Motormouth Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.
Yeah.